Okay, so I just finished getting my turbo spun around a little bit ago. And today, the big project is to get this turbo set up where I can mount it right here somehow. There are 2 bolt holes here and 2 bolt holes there, and I want to use those bolt holes and those bolt holes to make my turbo mount to hold the turbo there. Okay, so now in doing so, I've got a piece of 1/4 inch plate over here, which might be a little overkill, but I'm going to make my whole bracket out of this because it's going to be a lot smaller than a lot of this when I get it cut to fit in there. But I want it to be good and strong because that turbo is heavy. So I've got some lines drawn here, and I've got some lines where I messed up and had to redraw again. But I know which ones I need to cut, and I'm going to cut this section here out that I've got. You can see the line there and there. I'm going to cut that section out, and then I'm going to start trimming out where it needs to fit at to go into those mounts. And I'm leaving a tall tail on it up here because I've got a bolt on the turbo that's an 8mm that will happen right around here someplace. And I'm going to try and triangulate it because rather than just mounting it off the flange in the back, I want to have a spot up here since there's a hole on the turbo. And I'll show you. I've got to sit down here. That 8mm bolt right there, this one, lines up directly across from the flange. And I think I can use that to help hold the front end of the turbo. That way all the weight's not resting on the flange, even though the flange ought to be plenty strong enough. But it's there, I might as well use it. Okay, so I got my piece cut out. And you may notice I've got some lines drawn on it there. And like I said, this set. So what I've done is I took the old CDR valve, which I'm not going to use anymore because I can't because of the way the intake manifold's made. And I've set it on there and I've traced out where the mounts are because that's what used to mount in them bolt holes. And so the next thing I'm going to do is take my Sharpie. I know this is where I've got it set at, and I'm going to line it back up with my lines. And I'm going to, can't let it move. I'm going to mark my holes. Now that I've got my holes marked, take my center punch. And those are the holes that I'm going to drill later on as I start piecing this together. But the next problem is I've got a whole bunch of this that interferes with where that'll mount. So I'm going to have to cut and trim some of this out. And I need to go take a measurement to see how far in I've got to come on that. Okay, so I do realize with the sun in the background that there's obviously going to bleach some of this out in the back as far as lighting goes. I can close the garage door, but guys, it's hot. I don't want to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my square off the level of the manifold over here and run over to there. And I can tell you that off the edge of that mount, I need to come back at least 1 1/4 inches. And so to give myself a little bit room, I'll probably come back to 1 3/8 inches. That way I'm not laying directly on the manifold. So yeah, if I do that right there, I'll probably start at 1 1/4 inches. We'll see how close that comes. I can always take more out. So I'll come back at 1 1/4 inches off of that mount. And then off this other side here, it looks like probably about 1 1/8. I'll do 1 1/4 as well so they match. We'll see how that works. So, seeing the edge of my drawing here, this one I've got pretty well on the edge so I can run it off the edge this way. So I'm going to come back 1 1/4 is my mark there, and come on down 1 1/4 here. So now I can line those up. And draw my line. Now, on the other side, I don't quite have the cut up to the edge of where I've got my drawing, so I've got to do that just a little bit differently. I'm going to set it right on the edge here. Let's see here, that's actually about 1/8, so I'll do this one at 1 3/8. That way it'll be 1 1/4 when I cut everything. And then I'll do the same thing. I'll line my marks up with the edge of this, and so something else I want to do is I want to try, look at this here. I don't want to just come here and cut a 90. I'd rather it kind of slope into it. That way I've got some extra bracing there. And so that lug is about 7/8 inch thick. So if I come in 7/8 and right about there, all right, and then over here it'd be 1 inch because of our extra 1/8 inch we've got, which I need to trim off. Okay, and there's my mark there. So what I want to do is I'm going to actually use the gasket that came off the CDR valve, and I'm going to do that. Cut me a nice, or make me a nice little rounded section there from line to line, just because that looks like that gets me right about my inch mark. And like I said, this is one of those things that as I go to working on it, I can always adjust more off of it. I don't want to take too much at once because I'd like to leave as much strength as I can while I'm there. But there's that. And now, I know there's a lot of meat up here that I've not used yet. We will get to that. I went over and looked. I don't feel comfortable with cutting any of this just yet. And this won't affect the mounts, but I do need to cut this out. So I'll go ahead and cut these out, and we'll go from there. Okay, so I've got those cut out for the most part. I got to finesse these areas here out, and I'll finesse them out, and I'll drill those holes, and we should be able to mount that on the back side of that. We'll see what happens here. Okay, so I've drilled my holes, and I've got it mounted there. The only problem is, if you look at it from here, this side's not all the way back, and I think I can take that side all the way back. You see I've got a gap, you probably can't see it, that down there, but I am touching on this side here, which means I need to take it down in some. And it's like we talked before, I probably need at least another 1/8 inch off of it. Probably another 1/4 to be honest with you, to keep them clearing properly. So yeah, so I gotta take it back off. I gotta take a little bit more off this side here, and then I'll bolt it back on. Okay, so once again, I've got it mounted, and this time, since I took some off of that, we are mounted flush. It is tight. I took a wrench to it. I don't know, let me see, I'll turn the light up here. I don't know if you can see or not. It is clearing. It doesn't touch, but it's pretty tight. So what I might do is once I continue on this, I might chamfer the back side of this a little bit, and to keep the original width here, just take the back edge off. That way it does give it a little bit more, so they're trying to make finger marks, probably not. I'm trying to make sure it clears a little bit better. And I think that's about all I'm going to do today, because I've done a few other things and I got some cleaning up to do before I go home. But what we will do next, when I continue back on this mount, is I'm going to make a piece of metal that will come off the back here, and that will square into that. which means a good portion of this down here is going to get cut off. Down here, this will get cut off down here. And then I will weld those two pieces together. And of course, this piece will have to have a hole in it so I can get down to my drainage hole there. And then it will come back here and come up and have my flange mount on it. And this will be one big trade piece when it's all said and done, and it'll have bolts that bolt down into there. Not too bad for a angle grinder and a bandsaw. And of course, like I said, a lot of fine tuning left to do, but you guys have to keep following along, see how this ends up. Might look like garbage when I'm done, but we'll see. So if you guys don't mind, hit the subscribe button down there. Keep following along, and we'll see if we can't get this thing turbocharged here before long, because we still got to make the hot side, and yeah, that'll be fun. Got some flanges, got some pipe. We'll make our own hot side to this. So thanks for watching. See you guys later.